Still no noises. So today we're looking at the technical service bulletin known as JTB 00055, and this concerns a power steering system squeaking noise repair procedure. And to accompany this, there is a power steering squeak fluid additive shown here, known as part number C2S4887. I'll be using a syringe to extract existing 50 ml worth of power steering fluid. I've also got this temperature gauge as well. It's literally going to be measuring the temperature of the power steering fluid. It's important that as part of implementing this procedure, the fluid has to be heated to 100 degrees. You will excuse the wooden prop there. The dampers have got a bit lazy with the bonnet. Let's go ahead and open up the power steering fluid reservoir. Inside there you can see I've managed to extract a little filter. It just has to be popped out. There's a few little tongs on it, just put a bit of pressure on it. I use those needle nose pliers just to put a bit of pressure around the filter just to pop it out from the reservoir. So now we're going to extract the 50 ml of power steering fluid. Just checking to see that the fluid is roughly the right amount. Here I'm just extracting the fluid that's no longer required into a catch container. So having now extracted the 50 ml of fluid, I'm now going to shake the power steering squeak fluid additive, give it a good old shake, and then literally I'm just going to let that, place that into the reservoir and just let it drain for a little while in there. It's quite a thick oil. I think it's actually something called pentacene. Get that into there, and now we need to follow a heating procedure to make sure that the power steering fluid is heated to an appropriate temperature. So we're literally going to start up the car, start the engine, and then once we've got the engine idling, we'll look to start heating up the power steering fluid. Now, interestingly, the whole idea is that we get in the car, start the engine up, put her into neutral, make sure the parking brake is applied. What we'll do is we'll look to increase the engine speed and perform a rapid warm-up. So I'm going to look to bring the engine up to about 1500 RPM. The bulletin says 3000, but I think that's a little bit excessive. And what I'm going to do is just stop ever so often and just check the temperature of the gauge I've got placed in the power steering fluid, and I'm just going to keep repeating that, increasing the engine speed up to 1500 RPM until such time that we get the engine fully warmed and also the power steering fluid fully warmed up as well. Okay, so we're still doing the warm-up cycle just now. Had to change the battery, come back out, and the temperature of the power steering fluid's actually dropped, so I'm actually gonna take the RPMs up to 2,250. Yep, 100. I'm happy with that. So now we can proceed with the next steps. So finish the heating cycle. So now we're into the maneuver itself. So we've got the temperature. We're going to do steering lock to full lock, hold for 2 seconds. From full lock, go back a quarter, do that 8 times, and then do it the other way. So I'm going to count this in 2-2. So I'm going to go full lock. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 8, 2. Now the other side. 1, 2. 8, 2. That's the procedure completed. Still got a bit of a squeak. I can feel that. So if the squeak's still there, it says I need to perform the steps again for a maximum of 2 additional times. So let's have a go doing that a second time. Okay, so I've now performed that cycle for a maximum of 3 times. That concludes the technical manoeuvre for this bulletin. Let's do a quick temperature check. Okay, that's gone down to 80. That's fine. So we'll turn the engine off, and then we'll look to put the filter in and the power steering cap back on there once more. Let's grab some kitchen roll. Pull this out, it's going to be quite hot. Give it a bit of a wipe. There we go, that's fine. Just go and pop the little reservoir back in, like so. And then the power steering cap, which is just here. And the level is just above max, so I'm happy with that. So just out on a bit of a test run with the S-Type R. I'm still getting a little bit of noise from the steering column. It could be me, but I don't think it's as much as what it was previously. But I think it's just going to take a little while perhaps for the power steering additive to work through the system and get to the seal that it needs to get to. And then hopefully we'll see the system quietening down, and as I'm driving around here I can't actually hear it, even if it was making a loud squeak because of the road noise. But I just wanted to give car a bit of a run, short test drive, just to see if I could spot any immediate differences. See if I can pull around this junction, and then we'll just see if just doing a hard right now. A little bit of a squeak, but not as much as normal perhaps. That's good news. Morning. So today we're back in the S-Type, and it's a nice crisp winter's morning, and I'm actually in a car park just to evaluate whether the Pentasyn treatment, that's the Jaguar power steering Squeak additive, has made any difference to my power steering. It's been about a week, so all I'm going to do is literally just nurse around the car park and see if I can pick up on any squeaks. At the moment it's silent. However, it's quite cold, and I have noticed that when she's cold, the power steering doesn't tend to squeak. It's only when she's fully warmed up. Still no noises. Well, that's given the car a good workout, shuffling backwards and forwards. The engine is at temperature. Nice and toasty in here, thanks to the climate control doing its thing. I'm getting a very, very, very faint squeak now that the engine is fully up to temperature. However, that's definitely not as pronounced as it used to be. So how do I evaluate this? The Pentasyn power assisted steering fluid additive. So I would probably say 70% effective here. It's worth pointing out that if your power assisted steering system is making a long, deep moaning noise, perhaps similar to an old tomcat squaring up to a fight with another cat, that is not this condition that I'm treating here. That usually suggests that perhaps there may be a power steering leak, allowing the power steering fluid to egress out of the system. And the good news is that through the process, the treatment process or the procedure that we applied last week, the noise is greatly diminished. So I'm pretty happy. Was it worth the money? I'm not sure. The power steering additive treatment is very hard to come by. I must have paid around €70 for that treatment, that 50 milliliter bottle that was sourced from Germany, which I think it does include the packaging and the shipping, but I still think that's an awful lot of money for what was something that was probably available from main dealers back in the day, probably for maybe £5 or £10. But for now, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you found some of this content useful. Plenty more videos hope to come along very soon.